Hello. Today I wanted to share with you a few things, a few points that I thought would be very useful for everybody. The first thing is there was um, there was a conflict within me, something that I deeply believed, something that was important to me for many years, and that was the protection of God, the idea of God, the sacredness of God, the sacredness of morality, that kind of guiding force that is used to guide everyone's lives that people seem to have abandoned in our time, contemporary times. Um, a historian like Camille Paglia, whom I greatly admire and I respect, um, she keeps talking about a misreading of history, a miseducation to current or even students 25 years ago, that generation of students leading forward, um, have been taught deliberately to misread history, generally speaking. And that is why we have a over, let's say, an overemphasis on postmodernism and Marxism today in the underlying ethical guide of, say, the courses. They're predisposed toward indoctrinating the kids into the victimhood, the classism battle. But right now they've changed the terms from the bourgeois and the proletariat to those who are oppressor versus oppressed, and that can not be limited just to the rich, but it can also be a racial hatred that's been created essentially by class or race guilt attributed to white people. Um, I know that in my university there is massive, tremendous effort to get people to abandon Christianity as a religion and adopt the religious structure and cultural structure of the indigenous matriarchy. Um, and I guess that will appease the radical feminist group that see our society only as a patriarchy, an oppressive patriarchy, and want to eradicate or destroy it completely to replace it with their own. In the famous words of that woman that talked to Jordan Peterson in England on GQ, she called it a matriarchy for whatever reason. Um, why am I telling you this? I passed through in university many courses that were designed specifically to undermine the Catholic religion, Christian dogma, and pollute the faith of any practicing young students who are Christian. And I remember in a history class that they would ask, how many of you are raised Catholic? How many of you are raised with Christian values? And people would put up their hands, and then um, they would be scrutinized. They would be asked, why are you still practicing the faith? And then they would sometimes, in, I guess, shame, say, oh, we're no longer practicing, so that they're not inviting any more scrutiny from their peers or from the teacher. And this was a real reality. Um, I'm hoping that people will see the correct way, that sending your child to university, high school, elementary, doesn't matter, junior high, wherever they are in the infrastructure of education, that there is a high probability of indoctrination even in the lower levels, even especially in elementary level education. And what they will do is they will install climate change doctrine. Um, they will install critical race theory doctrine. which is becoming a more popularized term for the radical. I will term it as garbage. But really, it's indoctrination and propaganda designed to create hatred of white people, a white race, classism guilt, white race guilt, and attribute all the crimes of the past history of the United States and Canada as strictly something that needs to be answered for immediately today, a problem that's already been, the people that perpetrated that are dead. That generation is long gone. They're already buried. But human beings are not perfect. Maybe 1 in 1,000, maybe 1 in 100 are going to be the terrible exception. But that doesn't mean that you're going to condemn the other 99 that were doing the right thing in the first place. Christianity, as I see it, has always tried to emanate, and I'm not talking about the exceptions, I'm talking about, generally speaking, the people of Christ try to imitate Christ in everything that he did. Charity towards my neighbor, turning the other cheek, humility and the understanding of the dignity of the human beings, to love your enemy as yourself, to share charity to a neighbor, to die for one's friends, even your enemies, even. The Christ example, which is why Jordan Peterson calls it the ultimate archetype. Christ proved in that moment that there was something higher than the low thinking of human beings, you could say. That's why the idea that to die in that fashion is not of this world. It's something higher, a call for human beings to express the higher morality, and in a way to take that dignified, sacred part of the soul and express it fully. And that way you become somewhat like God, or the instrument of God himself. Something that always nags on me is that everything in our society today, what we did not achieve, but those who came before us achieved for us and left the responsibility of its upkeep to us, the next generation, and future generations. Our generation has done everything in its power, I would say, to try to undermine and unmake the past. Everything that they're doing is, if you think about it for more than 10 seconds, beyond the superficial thing that they're trying to achieve. I talk about Black Lives Matter. I talk about all those groups that are ripping down statues and remnants of our previous culture without looking at what's been done, what has been achieved, the great society now that we all enjoy, imperfect as it is, flawed as it is, still is the best in the world that we have now. We don't have anything better. Who knows what these postmodernists will achieve when they succeed in their endeavor. They'll destroy everything. They'll break everything down. Nothing is going to be as it was if they succeed, which I really hope it won't happen. But, it's in increments and dangerous increments that such a thing can occur. And unless it's met with opposition from the side of the right, I don't mean right wing, I mean from the right, the righteous people, the people that know better and need to correct them, stand up and face the truth and then speak the truth, can can correct the bad trajectory that we're on right now. I don't believe to attribute guilt to a class for the reprehensible actions of a few is acceptable. Human beings are not perfect. To expect that we are is a fantasy, a psychotic, misguided idea that can only lead to the worst sort of hatred and resentment. When I look at Justin Trudeau, for example, or Joe Biden, I don't really believe that these people are functioning human beings. I think of them as nothing but a mouthpiece, a ventriloquist dummy with somebody's hand inside, guiding them like a puppet. And the ideas and the sentiment and the sentences that they speak has nothing to do with who they are, because they're an empty box. These people, and I begin to see them more and more, are not, it's like they're absent. Nobody's home. You get a piece of paper or on a video screen or whatever, you get them to read, and they read it. Regardless of whether it's moral or immoral or the right thing or the wrong thing, they don't even look at that kind of perspective. I've come to the conclusion that these people were not elected, but cheated their way to political status and power, and received help along the way from interest groups that look to undermine and destroy our free society as we know it, and replace it with something else, perhaps something communist, perhaps something socialist, perhaps something else. But the point is that they want to run and control everything, but there are many more reasons specific that I will not mention here that guide their insane reasoning. I never told you, and I never really explained why the CCP is the most dangerous thing on this earth. The reason that they're the most dangerous people on this earth is not because they're anything intimidating, but because generation to generation of Chinese hold a grudge. They've always been power-hungry and bloodthirsty leadership. If a friend of mine who is Chinese explained to me very, very clearly that when a leader is elected, it's not by election, it's by murder. An emperor comes in, one guy gets a dark ambition, he murders that emperor and takes his place. That's essentially how they pass on leadership. If you look at the communists, people don't know if Mao was actually assassinated. People don't know if key leaders in the Communist Party were assassinated. But if you look between the lines, you'll understand that that's how power passes hands. They kill each other for the top leadership positions. And murder is in their nature. Now, getting back to the CCP, the reason why they're the most dangerous people on earth is because they will not stop for anything. It doesn't matter if they have to murder every single one of their own countrymen to achieve victory. It doesn't matter if they have to murder you or I in order to achieve their dreams. They want control of everything. They want influence over everything. They want to aggressively annex every bit of land, anything of value. They want to subvert countries who are their enemies. That's all the Chinese Communist Party wants. They want the absence of religion. I've seen how they they berate Catholic, Christian people, Muslim people, doesn't matter. They don't discriminate against any group or another, but that's the point. The religion they want you to follow is to worship Xi Jinping and Mao. So if you don't worship the communist religion, then, like, what do you think the Red Book is for? The communist religion is supreme, above God. No more. What they want is communist atheists. That's the end goal. So the eradication of any religion, any devotion to any god except their God, which is Mao, which is Xi Jinping, is unacceptable. Like, people here in the West, especially in Canada, focus on like the murders of Uyghur Muslims. There are many Catholic Christian people that were murdered there as well that get no publicity in this country. So, like, I mean, it has nothing to do with any, whether you worship Islam or Catholicism or Christianity or Buddhists or Falun Gong, anything like this. Like, it don't matter. They'll massacre you guys. The Chinese party doesn't care. Human life is cheap. You're a number, essentially. And this is not wisdom coming from myself. This is from people that were actually there, that lived through it. The previous generation that educated me and told me what they're like. And I believe them because that's what they went through. And they don't forget it. So, you know, it's really the only way for the previous generation to pass on knowledge of previous mistakes. And now 100 years or 80 years or 70 years has passed, and people are ignorant again. And it's up to the previous generation to educate their kids. Well, fortunately, there are people, communism is still very much alive today, where people come from, say, I don't know, in Europe, say Poland or something like that, that they come in and they left communism. The communism is not dead. They just, it's thriving more today than it ever was previously. We're either engaged in the next great war, the makings of the next great war, if it should play out that way, unless we lose, in which case it'll happen very, very quietly, and they'll annex us by taking over any place where public opinion is formed, and there won't be any more debate. So these words will be the wind. That's what I want to encourage with people, is that the key is debate. If there's no debate anymore, it means that it's not free. You're not free to speak your mind, to speak your heart. The truth is inconsequential. Morality is subjective. It cannot be the way human beings live. We'll destroy ourselves, and we will create mass confusion. So there'll be enemies here. There'll be friends who look like enemies, and so on. It's just the waters get so muddied. So there'll be too much confusion to understand what's happening. Education for me has always been the primary culprit of the failings of our current society. And that's putting it lightly. The failings of society cannot really be attributed to those groups, because it's the failing of the teachers. The curriculum that they present, the way that they manipulate students early on. Those are the most disgusting people on this earth. They should be put in jail for treason forever, for misguiding little children on how the world actually came into being, and how how our society is functional today because of the sacrifices of those that are made in the past, be it anything that you talk about. And especially not to be grateful for everything that we've got. This society didn't happen by chance, by accident. No. The groundwork was laid very, very carefully with corrections, many corrections along the way, and inspiration taken from other cultures, failed cultures. That why did they fail? And thinking deeper than just ordinary superficial nonsense that we have today. There's no depth of character except in a few. For the most part, I see these people marching off to do the Black Lives Matter bidding. They don't even know that what they're doing is actually going to help the black race in our society. They don't even know if they actually represent black interests. They just follow it blindly. Here we go. We can throw our support behind the slogan. But maybe it doesn't mean exactly what you think. Everything that I'm seeing, it's the best of times, it's the worst of times. I don't know why it keeps vibrating with me. The best of times because we have everything. We have modern infrastructure, we have cars, we have technology, we have everything at our disposal should we choose to take it. But the worst of times because we seem to be blind to the lessons of the past. We seem to be analyzing things only at its most superficial level, understanding at its most superficial level. I'm not calling people who are the exception stupid, because I know that there are many good people out there that fight hard for exactly the points that I'm outlining. They fight against it. They've always fought against it. They've disciplined themselves not to swallow the poison, but to show others where it is, where it hides, resides, and all those kind of things. I look at many decent people that try their hardest to fight against what we see as the resurgence of communism here. But it's so much bigger than that. That's an oversimplification of it. Because as soon as you get into that, you have so many problems, so many things that require severe attention and a hard debate amongst many qualified people. But maybe only a few would do it as well. I don't like to build bureaucracy more than necessary, but if great minds could get together and really debate it publicly and figure out what the hell we're going to do from here, that would be magnificent. But there is no dialogue. When I look at Jordan Peterson going out, when he gets invited to certain debates, I see. And I remember this particular debate he had against 3 other people where he was with Stephen Fry. And I thought, he taught me that you're going into the conversation hoping to learn more. And I could see there's nothing to be learned by debating with these people, because all they are is ideologically possessed. And every answer is not, it's like a robot speaking, so to speak. It's empty. There's no thought that goes into it. You just, if you can figure out what's the doctrine that they know, then you don't need their answers anymore. You just can see the answer on wherever it happens to be on the indoctrination, the pseudo doctrine that they create. So I don't want to get any further than that. There's a lot of things I could say about the debate of free speech, of free elections, of the justice system working as it should. I guess the key thing that I want to sell to you is gratitude for what we have, humility in the face of what's already been achieved, and don't try so hard to pretend that you're wiser than the previous generations and the previous wisdom that's already been handed down to us from people like Jung or Dostoevsky or Solzhenitsyn or Nietzsche, um, and don't misread history. Learn from for yourself what is the real history of this world. And I know it's easy to say it, and hard to accomplish, but really it comes from a genuine desire to know the truth. And if you don't want to know the truth, you're complicit. We must be seeking the truth as the ultimate goal, the ultimate morality. To seek the truth, that's the highest thing that we can do. I think so. Seek and speak it, perhaps, but like I'm trying to find the right words to put it out there so that it's very easy to understand. But I know that I've wasted too much time trying to arrive at that thought. There's so much in this world that is deeply corrupted. There is so much in this world that you could term it as evil or unjust, but it's not for us to decide. We have to protect that which is precious, the dignity of human beings, the truth, unbridled by any kind of bias or nonsense. People love that, the undisputed truth laid bare for all to see. People love that, in my experience, and I've seen it. One of the reasons why videos go viral, I think, is because of that reason. Something, oh, you look at it, is horrific, but at the same time true. It touches people on a level that is unconscious to their to their being, but somehow you can reach people like that. To those in the schools that are pushing Marxist and postmodernism, shame on you. I hope you get what's coming to you. I hope you suffer greatly for the crimes of corrupting my generation, previous generations, and future generations. And shame on you. Many people will know and expose you one day, and you'll answer for what you did against humanity itself. That was the problem. I think that the amoral way that because of influence, social media, school systems, and generally the way things are, people grow up very immature, very, how would you say it, unwilling to accept beauty or to acknowledge beauty or be grateful for that kind of thing. It's like a lack of appreciation in every way, and to push for, instead to create, to push for the desire of destruction. Pardon me. We just talk here in the corner of a room. But I hope that this message can go out to people and help people to at least begin the debate. The problem with conservatives is that we seem to be fragmented for some reason. We're not organized. We lack that kind of radicalism that the left has, where if they want to protest even for a foolish thing, they're going to do it. They can organize it quickly, and they can find many people willing to back a useless cause and create a lot of trouble. I hate that. I hate that there's no, as far as I can see it, there's no conservative or right wing comeback for any of that. The conservatives don't really know how to fight it, and that's because the left has changed the rules, and the conservatives live by rules, so they cannot. The only thing that can help is like say a liberal or a left winger who had a bit of sense about them and whom was willing to, I don't want to say switch sides, but maybe educate conservatives on how to deal with the left properly by debate. But as I see it, the left already has proven themselves extremely evil, because as far as I can observe, everything that they're doing is to shut down any kind of discourse, dialogue, debate on anything of importance, and push their critical race theory doctrine as hard as they possibly can and get the children and indoctrinate the kids. Jordan Peterson already said that even one course of the critical race theory increases the let's say the mindset probability that the child will follow that by about 30 to 40%, if I heard him correctly. And if you studied in education like I have, it's very difficult when an idea is implanted in a child's brain. It's the wrong way to do a math question, or the wrong way to approach it doesn't matter, a problem. If they learn a method and the method is incorrect, then they'll continue using that method. It's very difficult for the child to okay, this is the right way. But when they've learned it the first time, it's very, very hard to uproot that. So the idea is planted, so to speak, and it grows and grows. So, as I said, the teachers guilty of that kind of indoctrination and propaganda, they should be put in prison. It's no joke.